My ex said I'd never be worth her sister's time. She was right, because her sister didn't just give me her time. She gave me her empire. I still remember the look on Maya's face that morning. The boardroom lights were cold, sterile, merciless, just like her expression when she realized who was standing at the front beside Clara. Me. Her ex. Her replacement. Her reminder that arrogance has a price. Clara stood tall next to me, her hand resting lightly on mine as she announced the new co-CEO of the company, her husband. Gasps filled the room. Maya's face went pale, her smile cracking like porcelain under a hammer. That was the moment everything came full circle. The betrayal. The heartbreak. The rise. But stories like this don't start in boardrooms. They start in cheap apartments, with cheap promises. You want to know how we got here? When I met Maya, I was 24, working 2 jobs and chasing a degree I couldn't afford. She was light in human form, laughing too loud, dreaming too big, and somehow, for a reason I never fully understood, she chose me. We met in a campus cafe. She was wearing a pale blue dress and glasses she never actually needed. She told me she only wore them because they made people take her ambitions seriously. That should have been my first hint. Maya was ambitious, brilliant, driven, but always hungry for more. I admired it, maybe even worshipped it. While I counted tips and balanced shifts, she talked about building her own marketing agency, traveling to Tokyo, buying apartments in her name. And I, foolishly in love, said, "We'll get there together." Together. That was the lie I told myself. I worked nights delivering food and mornings at a hardware store. When her birthday came, I skipped rent to buy her a smartwatch because she said it would make her feel more like a professional. When she wanted to study abroad for a semester, I helped her prepare her application, even edited her essays. I never told her that I took extra shifts to cover the little trips and dinners she liked. She'd call me, "my loyal one," smiling, teasing. I thought it was affection. Maybe it was a pity. Maya's family was the kind that made money sound like blood, old, endless, and inherited. Her father owned shares in multiple companies, but it was her sister, Clara, who really ran the show. Clara was a name you'd see in business magazines, a woman with that polished, effortless grace that made people lower their voices when she entered a room. I met her for the first time at a family dinner, a mansion that smelled faintly of roses and old wood. Maya warned me before we walked in. "Clara's intense," she said, adjusting her hair in the mirror. "Don't take it personally if she seems cold. She just doesn't do small talk." When I shook Clara's hand, it was like gripping control itself, steady, precise. Her eyes lingered a second too long, as if scanning me for weaknesses. I smiled nervously, trying to hide my discomfort. Dinner was polite but tense. Maya's parents spoke about stocks and real estate while I sipped my water, quietly counting the zeros they tossed around like pocket change. Clara mostly observed. Occasionally, she asked about my work or my studies, not in a condescending way, but like she genuinely wanted to measure the shape of my resolve. At one point, Maya made a joke about how I still take the bus. Clara's fork paused midair. "At least he works," she said evenly. The silence that followed was sharper than the knives on the table. After that night, Clara occasionally checked in, little gestures. She'd send me articles about business strategy, or once, a message saying, "Don't let Maya's impatience distract you from your own goals." I didn't know how to respond. It felt like she saw through both of us. But back then, I only had eyes for Maya. I told myself Clara's world wasn't mine. I was happy where I was, helping Maya build hers. Every Friday, after my shift ended, I'd take the bus to her apartment. We'd eat takeout, talk about her ideas, laugh about how her sister was married to her job. I didn't care that I was exhausted. Watching Maya light up when she talked about success made it worth it. There was a night I'll never forget. We sat on her balcony, city lights flickering below. She rested her head on my shoulder and whispered, "One day, I'll make it big, and you'll never have to work like this again." And I believed her. Completely. Because love makes fools of us all. At that time, I didn't care about her wealth or her family name. I didn't even care that Clara probably thought I was temporary, a phase her sister would outgrow. I believed in love. I believed in sacrifice. I believed that if I gave everything, it would be enough. I was wrong, of course. But in that moment, under the hum of the city and the warmth of her hand, I thought love could conquer anything. Even class. Even ambition. Even fate. It started with small things, the kind of things you ignore because you're afraid of what they might mean. At first, it was her texts. Maya used to message me between every meeting, every class, even to complain about the coffee being too bitter or a coworker stealing her charger. But then, her replies started coming slower. Shorter. The kind of dry, tired, yeah, or okay, that says more in what it withholds than what it offers. I told myself she was just busy. She'd just started an internship at a big marketing firm downtown, a dream position she'd talked about for months. It made sense that she'd be overwhelmed. But soon, her schedule became this mysterious maze I couldn't quite navigate. Work ran late, she'd say, stepping out of an Uber close to midnight. Just drinks with the team. Don't wait up. I tried to understand. I'd been the one who pushed her to chase her goals, after all. But the more she succeeded, the smaller my place in her life seemed to become. The affection faded like color from an old photograph. She stopped reaching for my hand in public. Stopped leaning into me when we watched movies. The warmth in her eyes turned to distraction, her mind somewhere else, with someone else, maybe. I didn't want to believe it. So I didn't. I filled the silence with excuses. She's tired. She's stressed. She's changing, and I need to change with her. But the truth doesn't care how much you love someone. It just waits for you to stop lying to yourself. It was a Friday when I noticed it first, the phone thing. We were at her apartment, half watching a movie. Every time her phone buzzed, she'd flip it face down. "Maya, you can check it, it's fine," I said, trying to sound casual. She smiled, too quickly. "It's just work stuff. You wouldn't care." Then she got up and disappeared into the bedroom for 15 minutes. When she came back, the smile was gone, replaced by that practiced, polite expression she used with strangers. That night, when I kissed her goodnight, she turned her face just slightly. Enough to make it land on her cheek. I didn't sleep. A week later, I saw her leaving the firm when I stopped by to surprise her with lunch. She was laughing with a man I'd never seen before, a tall, sharp suit, the kind of confidence that only money can teach. She didn't see me. He put his hand on her back as they walked toward a car. I went home without saying a word. That evening, I got a text from her, "Sorry babe, crazy day. Just got home. I'll call you later." I stared at the screen until the words blurred. The next day, Clara called. It surprised me, she rarely reached out. She said there was a charity gala her company was hosting and Maya had RSVP'd for both of us, but later cancelled, saying I'd be working. I wasn't. "I'd still like you to come," Clara said. "You helped me with those data reports last month, remember? Consider it a thank you." I hesitated. The thought of seeing Maya's family without her felt awkward. But something about Clara's tone, steady, unreadable, made it hard to refuse. The gala was held in a glass ballroom overlooking the city. Everyone there looked like they belonged to a different species, men in tailored suits, women in silk dresses that probably cost more than my rent. I felt like an imposter. Clara found me near the bar, drink in hand, her presence as composed as ever. She wore black, sleek and minimal, like she didn't need color to draw attention. "You came," she said softly, offering a small smile. Wouldn't miss it, I lied. We talked a little, mostly her asking, me answering. She noticed, I think, how stiff I was, how I kept glancing at the door like I expected Maya to walk in any second. After a while, she said, "You look tired, Ethan. I guess I've been working too much." Her gaze didn't waver. "Or worrying too much." I forced a smile. "You sound like my mom." "Your mother doesn't run a billion-dollar company," she replied. "I know what overthinking looks like." Her words carried something, concern, maybe. Or curiosity. Then she said it. The line that would echo in my head for weeks. "Don't trust Maya with things you can't afford to lose." I blinked. "What does that mean?" She shrugged, her eyes drifting to the city lights. "You'll understand soon enough." It sent a chill down my spine. I brushed it off at first. Clara had always been blunt. Maybe she was just being protective. But her warning stuck with me, like a splinter under the skin. A few days later, while cleaning up Maya's apartment, something she'd often leave for me, I found a receipt on her counter. A jewelry store downtown. A man's bracelet. Gold. Custom engraved. It wasn't for me. I stared at it for a long time. My chest felt hollow. The next night, she texted that she had to stay late at work. I drove to her office building. Her car wasn't there. When she came over the next day, I tried to keep calm. "Maya," I said, careful, quiet, "can I ask you something?" She smiled, sipping her coffee. "Sure." "Who's Mark?" Her hand froze midair. Just for a fraction of a second, but I saw it. She laughed it off, too loud. "You saw the group chat, didn't you? He's just a coworker. Relax." "I didn't see a group chat," I said. "I saw a receipt. And a hotel booking. Both under your name." Her face changed. The mask slipped, and I saw something cold flash in her eyes. Then she smirked. "You went through my stuff." "I found it, Maya. I wasn't looking." "Same thing." She put down her cup. "You don't trust me, Ethan. That's your problem." "My problem?" My voice cracked with something between disbelief and anger. "You disappear for nights, lie about work, and I'm the one with the problem." She rolled her eyes. "You're overreacting. Not everything is about you." Then she left. Just like that. That night, I sat on my bed staring at my phone, half expecting her to call. She didn't. Instead, I got a message from an unknown number. "Clara, you deserve to know the truth." I stared at the screen, pulse pounding. Clara. The same woman who'd warned me. The same woman who'd looked at me like she already knew how this story would end. I didn't know what she meant, or what she planned to tell me. But in that moment, I felt something shift inside me, something cold and quiet, like the calm before a storm. Because deep down, I already knew. Whatever truth Clara wanted to show me, it wasn't going to save what was left of Maya and me. It was going to bury it. The message from Clara came the next morning. "Clara, I'm sorry you have to see this, but it's better than living blind." Attached were screenshots. Dozens of them. Messages between Maya and a contact saved as short for Mark Rivera, the man I'd seen her with outside her office. He wasn't just a coworker. He was a senior partner at a rival firm, someone Clara had mentioned once in passing during that charity gala. The messages started off innocently, meeting reminders, work talk, but quickly turned into something else. Flirting. Compliments. Plans. Then photos. Maya, in the dress I'd bought her for her birthday, smiling at him across a dinner table. Another one, blurry but clear enough to see her hand in his hair. And the worst, a hotel receipt, both their names signed under Suite 806. My chest caved in. I couldn't breathe. For a long time, I just stared at the screen. My hands were trembling so badly that I dropped the phone. Everything I'd built, every shift I worked, every sacrifice, every dream I'd wrapped around her name, collapsed in seconds. And the worst part? It wasn't just that she cheated. It was how easily she'd done it. How familiar it looked in those texts. Like I was just one of many stepping stones in her climb. I thought about all those nights I'd stayed up helping her edit proposals, about the money I'd given her when she said she couldn't make rent, about the times I told her she'd change the world. She did change it. Just not for me. I don't know how long I sat there, phone in hand, eyes burning. The clock ticked. Morning turned to afternoon. Then at night. At some point, my doorbell rang. It was Clara. She didn't say much when I opened the door, just walked in, like she knew I wouldn't stop her. She looked around my apartment, quiet and bare, like it suddenly told her everything she needed to know about me. "I'm sorry, Ethan," she said softly. "I didn't want to be the one to show you." I laughed, a sound too sharp, too bitter. "You sure? Because it feels like you've been waiting to say, 'I told you so.'" Clara's eyes hardened for a second, but her voice stayed calm. "No. I've seen what Maya does when she gets bored. You're not the first person she's burned." That hit harder than I expected. "You knew?" She hesitated. "I suspected. But Maya doesn't listen to anyone, especially me. She's always been impulsive." "Impulsive," I repeated, the word tasting like acid. "That's what we're calling it now." She didn't reply. Instead, she sat down on the edge of my couch, studying me quietly. "You should confront her," she said finally. "Not for closure, for truth. She'll twist it otherwise. I don't even know if I can look at her." "You can," Clara said. "And you should." I didn't sleep that night. I didn't even try. I just kept replaying every memory in my head, every smile, every promise, every time she said she loved me. What did those words mean when her lips had also said them to someone else? By morning, I'd made up my mind. I called her. "Maya," I said, my voice flat, "we need to talk." There was a pause. "About what?" "You know what." Silence. Then, "Fine. Come over." When I walked into her apartment, she was already standing by the window, her arms crossed. She didn't look guilty. Just annoyed. "So," she said, not even turning around, "Clara told you, didn't she?" I froze. "You knew she would." Maya sighed and faced me. "She's been dying too. My perfect sister, always trying to save people from me." She rolled her eyes. "I should have seen it coming." "Maya, stop," I said quietly. "Just tell me why. Was I not enough?" Her expression softened for half a second, then hardened again. "Ethan, it's not enough. You're good. Kind. But that's all you are. I needed more." "More?" I asked, voice trembling. "I gave you everything I had." She smiled, a small, pitying curve. "Exactly. And I needed someone who didn't have to give everything just to keep up." Her words landed like a slap. I felt the air leave my lungs. "So what was I then?" I whispered. "A project? Charity work?" She shrugged. "You were convenient. I liked you. Until I didn't." I don't know what I looked like then, but it made her flinch. "I'm sorry if it hurts," she said, though her tone carried no real remorse. "But it's better you know now than keep pretending this was forever." Something inside me snapped. "You know what's funny?" I said, voice shaking. "I used to think Clara was cold. But she's the only one in your family who's ever shown me kindness. That hit her. Her jaw tightened. You don't know her like I do. No, I said. But I'm starting to think I should. That's when Clara walked in. Maya's expression shifted immediately, from arrogance to fury. Did you seriously bring her here? I didn't, I said, stunned. Clara stepped forward, her presence sharp as glass. I came to make sure you didn't lie your way out of this again. Unbelievable, Maya hissed. You just couldn't stay out of my life, could you? You call this a life? Clara shot back. Using people, discarding them when they're no longer useful. You're a disgrace to our name. Spare me the lecture, mother, Maya sneered. You think running a company makes you better than me? No, Clara said, her tone low, cutting. The way I treat people does. The room crackled with tension. I stood there, silent, feeling like a ghost watching two worlds collide. Finally, Clara turned to me. You don't owe her another word, she said. Leave this behind. Maya laughed, hollow and sharp. Oh, please. What are you going to do, Clara? Take him in. Make him your next pet project. Clara's eyes narrowed. If I do, at least he'll be treated with respect. Maya went still. For the first time, I saw fear flash across her face. Get out, she said to me, her voice breaking slightly. Both of you. Just, get out. I didn't argue. I just walked past her. Clara followed. Outside, I finally broke. I don't even remember sitting down, but I found myself on the steps of the building, hands covering my face, shaking. All the emotions I'd been holding in, pain, rage, humiliation, spilled out. Clara stood nearby, silent for a while, before she crouched down next to me. Her voice, when it came, was softer than I'd ever heard it. She's always been like this, she said. I tried to stop her once. It didn't end well. I looked up at her. Why did you help me? She held my gaze. Because you didn't deserve to be destroyed by her. For the first time, I saw something in Clara's eyes that wasn't control or judgment. It was understanding. Maybe even guilt. She extended a hand. Come work for me, she said. You're smart. Dedicated. Let me put that to use somewhere. It'll be appreciated. I stared at her hand. You don't have to do that. I'm not doing it out of pity, she said. I'm doing it because you've already proved what loyalty looks like. My company needs that. Something inside me shifted again, this time, not pain, but purpose. I took her hand. The weeks that followed were strange. I joined her company at a junior position, surrounded by people who spoke in numbers and strategy, a world I never thought I'd belong to. Clara was distant but fair, strict but never cruel. She taught me how to see things differently, how power worked, how silence could speak louder than words. Every time I faltered, she'd say, "Don't think small. You've already survived worse." And I had. But the nights were harder. That's when the memories came back, the sound of Maya's laughter, the scent of her perfume, the promises she'd whispered in the dark. I'd lie awake replaying her words, "You were convenient." Each time, it burned a little less. The pain hardened into resolve. I realized something then, love had made me weak. It has made me bend, compromise, and forgive things I shouldn't have. Never again. If love could break me, then power would rebuild me. If Maya's betrayal had taught me anything, it was that kindness without strength was just an invitation to be used. I wasn't going to be the loyal fool anymore. I was going to be untouchable. I stood in the office late one night, looking out over the city skyline from Clara's top-floor suite. The reflection in the glass didn't look like the same man who once begged for scraps of affection. I felt Clara's presence before I heard her. She stopped beside me, following my gaze. You're changing, she said quietly. Maybe I should, I replied. She smiled faintly. Good. The world doesn't reward softness. Her words sank deep, somewhere between a warning and a promise. And as I looked out into the glittering city, the same city that had once made me feel small, I whispered to myself, almost like a vow. If love makes me weak, success will make me untouchable. The first day I walked into Clara's company, I still had the ghost of heartbreak clinging to me like a second skin. The reception area smelled of ambition, clean lines, cold air conditioning, and people who didn't have time for smiles. Everyone moved like their calendars decided their worth. Clara's company, Viridian Group, was the kind of empire people built empires under. Luxury real estate, tech acquisitions, global partnerships, her name was stitched into every deal that mattered. And now, somehow, I was part of it. She started me small. Operations assistant. Data sorting, coordination, late-night reports. The kind of work that breaks most people because it's too quiet to feel important. But I wasn't there for importance. I was there to learn. And Clara noticed. She always did. In the beginning, she kept her distance. Our conversations were brief, professional. But every now and then, she'd linger near my desk, asking about my progress. Her voice was always calm, but her eyes, those sharp, assessing eyes, studied me with a precision that made it impossible to lie. You adapt quickly, she said one evening, after reviewing a report I'd fixed ahead of deadline. Most people complain about the hours. I've done worse, I said. Her lips curved faintly. I don't doubt it. There was something in her tone that wasn't quite admiration, but it wasn't indifference either. It was curiosity. Over the next few months, she began involving me in higher-level projects. At first, just observing meetings, taking notes, tracking follow-ups, but then came small responsibilities. Negotiating contracts. Presenting data. Making calls under her name. The power terrified me, and thrilled me. Clara was a strategist in heels. She didn't speak often in meetings, but when she did, people stopped breathing to listen. She taught me what control looked like, measured, deliberate, invisible until it needed to strike. Emotion is leverage, she said once, late at night as we reviewed a proposal. People think business is numbers. It's not. It's manipulation wrapped in politeness. I looked at her, the city lights spilling across her desk. Then what am I supposed to be? She met my eyes. Someone who understands the difference between feeling and acting. It was the kind of advice that didn't just stay in the office. It followed me home. Into my thoughts. Into my reflection. I started dressing differently, fitted suits instead of wrinkled shirts. I stopped apologizing in emails. I spoke slower, with more certainty. And I noticed how people started to listen. Clara noticed too. One evening, after a tense client meeting where I'd calmly shut down an aggressive investor, she approached me as the others left. That was impressive, she said. I just repeated what you'd say, I replied. She tilted her head slightly. No. You didn't. You said it your way. Her gaze lingered. The air between us felt different, charged, careful. That night, for the first time, I realized Clara didn't just see me as an employee. She saw me as something else. The change didn't go unnoticed. People whispered. That new guy, who caught the CEO's attention. The one she stayed late with. The one she trusted. I ignored them. I had bigger things on my mind. Like the message I got one night at 11:42 p.m. Maya, hey. Can we talk? My stomach turned. I hadn't heard from her in months. And yet, just as my life began finding balance again, there she was, testing the foundations. I didn't reply. The next morning, she showed up at the building. In the lobby. wearing her old confident smile. "Ethan," she said, stepping toward me like nothing had happened. "You look different." "I am," I said flatly. She laughed softly. "I can see that. Clara must have taught you well." Her voice carried something, bitterness, envy, maybe fear. "You and her. People are talking, you know." I didn't answer. She smirked. "Careful, Ethan. My sister doesn't play games she can't win." I leaned closer, my tone low. "Neither do I anymore." She blinked. For once, she had nothing to say. I left her standing there, her perfect smile cracking at the edges. A few days later, Clara called me into her office. "Maya stopped by," she said, her tone unreadable. I didn't tell her anything. "I know," she said simply. "She's trying to provoke you. Don't let her." I frowned. "Why protect me?" Clara closed her laptop and looked at me for a long moment. "Because I've seen what she does to people she can't control. I won't let her do it again." There was a pause, thick, quiet. The kind that carries more words than sound ever could. That was the night I realized Clara wasn't just protecting me. She was protecting us. Months passed. My position grew. People started reporting to me. I led meetings Clara used to lead. She still oversaw everything, of course, but sometimes she'd watch silently as I took command, a hint of pride ghosting across her face. One night, she poured us both a glass of wine after a successful deal. "You've become indispensable," she said. I smiled. "You made me that way." She studied me, her eyes tracing something in my face she couldn't quite name, or didn't want to. "No, Ethan. You made yourself that way. I just showed you what you were capable of." For the first time, she sounded almost vulnerable. And that scared me more than any boardroom battle ever could. It happened slowly, the shift between us. A lingering glance too long during a late-night discussion. A touch on my shoulder that stayed a second longer than it should have. The way her voice softened when she said my name. We didn't talk about it. We didn't need to. The air said enough. But it was dangerous. We both knew it. She was older, powerful, untouchable in ways I was still learning to be. And yet, when we stood side by side in her office, staring out at the city we were conquering piece by piece, it didn't feel wrong. It felt inevitable. Then came the setback. It started with a leak, confidential merger details, exposed to a rival firm. The same firm Maya's new boyfriend ran. The story hit the business press within hours. Stocks wavered. Investors panicked. Inside Viridian, chaos brewed. Clara was furious but composed, as always. "We'll find who did this," she said during the emergency meeting. But I could see the exhaustion behind her eyes. The headlines hit her reputation harder than any market fluctuation. I spent 3 days digging through internal reports, emails, call logs, anything that didn't fit. And then I found it. A private transfer from an employee's account to a consulting shell company owned by Mark Rivera, Maya's lover. I followed the trail. It led back to her. Maya had orchestrated the leak, feeding data to Mark in exchange for cash. I brought the evidence to Clara. She stared at the files, silent. Then she closed her laptop and leaned back in her chair. "So she's finally crossed that line. What do we do?" I asked. Her eyes met mine, calm and cold. "We end her. We planned carefully." Clara contacted her legal team. I reached out to a journalist I knew from my earlier projects. Within a week, the story broke again, but this time, it was about Maya. Insider manipulation scandal tied to rival firm executive and associate. Her name was everywhere. Her career, gone overnight. The company she joined fired her within hours. Clara held a press conference the next day. I stood beside her, watching as she addressed the media, composed, articulate, unflinching. "We protect integrity above all else," she said. "Even when betrayal comes from places we least expect." Our eyes met for a fraction of a second. She didn't need to say anything. Justice had been served. But for me, it was more than justice. It was closed. That night, long after the cameras stopped flashing, I found Clara alone in her office. The city glowed behind her, bright, endless. "It's over," I said quietly. She turned, her expression unreadable. "No. It's only the beginning." I stepped closer. "You don't regret it?" She shook her head. "Do you?" I thought about Maya's words, "You were convenient." About the man I used to be. About the version of myself that waited for love to make him worthy. "No," I said. "I don't." Clara walked closer, the distance between us shrinking with each breath. "You wanted revenge," she whispered, her voice soft but dangerous. "But you've become something far greater." Her hand brushed mine. A spark. A promise. A warning. Maybe she was right. Because as I looked into her eyes, I realized revenge wasn't the end of my story. It was the beginning of my power. The morning of the announcement felt different. Even the air in the Viridian Tower carried weight, like the city itself knew something was about to change. I stood by the window in Clara's office, watching the skyline bleed gold under the rising sun. My reflection stared back at me, tailored suit, steady gaze, a man unrecognizable from the one who used to wait outside cafes for a woman who never showed up. Now, that same woman was about to lose everything. Clara entered behind me, her heels sharp against the marble floor. "The press is downstairs. Are you ready?" I turned. "I've been ready for a long time." She studied me for a second, a hint of a smile ghosting her lips. "Then let's finish this." The main conference hall was packed, journalists, investors, employees, cameras blinking like 1,000 quiet eyes. Viridian banners hung on the back wall, gold and white, glowing under the lights. I took my seat beside Clara on the elevated stage. The hum of whispered speculation filled the air, rumors of a major merger had been swirling for weeks. No one knew what was coming. Except us. And her. Maya sat 3 rows back, among the company partners. She was dressed for war, sleek black dress, crimson lipstick, chin held high, the same posture she wore when she used to tell me I'd never make it past her world. I felt nothing. No hate. No nostalgia. Just stillness. Clara began the address. "Good morning, everyone," she said, her voice calm and measured. "Today marks a pivotal moment for Viridian Group and the future of our global partnerships." The crowd hushed. Her presence commanded silence. "As of this morning, Viridian has completed the full acquisition and merger of Rhea Tech Holdings." Gasps. Murmurs. Cameras clicked. I glanced toward Maya. Her face was drained of color. Rhea Tech was her new company, the one she'd built after her scandal, the one she thought would restore her reputation. Clara continued. "This merger not only expands Viridian's reach but also ensures market consolidation under our leadership. Effective immediately, all Rhea Tech subsidiaries will operate under Viridian management." The murmurs grew louder. Somewhere in the back, someone whispered Maya's name. She sat perfectly still, lips pressed tight. Her empire, the one she stole, rebuilt, and bragged about, was gone. Bought, consumed, erased. Then Clara looked toward me. "Before I introduce our new leadership structure," she said, "I want to acknowledge the man whose insight, strategy, and resilience made this deal possible." The cameras pivoted. "Ethan Cole," she said. "My partner. My fiancé. And Viridian's new co-CEO." The words echoed like thunder. For a heartbeat, I couldn't hear anything, not the gasps, not the murmurs, just the slow, ringing silence that follows a storm. Clara extended her hand. I stood, buttoned my jacket, and took my place beside her at the podium. And that's when I saw her again, Maya, frozen, eyes wide, the perfect storm of disbelief and horror behind her polished expression. I took the microphone. I've learned, I began, my voice steady, that success isn't about revenge or recognition. It's about remembering who stood by you when you had nothing, and who stood on you to climb higher. The cameras flashed. I didn't look away from Maya. Some lessons hurt, I continued. Some are necessary. Our eyes met. She blinked, and in that instant, I saw every memory between us, every lie, every dismissal, every night I stayed up believing her promises. They all condensed into that one, quiet second. Then I smiled. Not cruelly. Just honestly. Today, I stand here not because I was lucky, I said, but because I refused to stay broken. The audience erupted in applause. Maya looked down, hiding her face behind her hair. After the announcement, chaos followed, investors rushing to congratulate us, employees cheering, reporters shouting questions. But through it all, Clara and I stayed side by side. By the time we escaped to her private floor, the sound of the crowd was just a distant hum. She poured 2 glasses of champagne, handed me one, and raised hers. To closure. I touched my glass to hers. To clarity. She smiled faintly. To power. We drank. The taste was sharp, cold, and final. She turned toward me, leaning against her desk. You were flawless out there. So were you. Her gaze softened, something rare breaking through her usual composure. I never meant for it to go this far, Ethan. But when I saw how she broke you, I knew she'd regret it. I set my glass down. She already does. Silence hung between us, heavy but not uncomfortable. The city stretched behind her, glowing in the evening haze. You've changed, she said. I had to. Her eyes searched mine. And do you like who you've become? I thought about it, the man who once begged for love, now standing at the top beside the woman who taught him how to wield silence like a weapon. Yes, I said. Because I'm finally standing where I belong. She smiled, slow and knowing. Then stay there. With me. She stepped closer. Her hand brushed mine, deliberate, unapologetic. For a moment, the air felt weightless, suspended between victory and desire. This isn't revenge anymore, she whispered. It's evolution. Her words settled deep inside me. Maya had taken my heart and shattered it. Clara had taken the pieces and turned them into armor. And now, standing there beside her, her husband-to-be, her equal, her mirror, I understood what true power felt like. It wasn't domination. It wasn't cruelty. It was controlled. Precision. The quiet confidence of knowing you could destroy, but choosing instead to build something greater. The following week, the media couldn't stop talking about us. Viridian Power couple announced merger and engagement. From scandal to empire, Clara and Ethan Cole redefined corporate legacy. Maya disappeared from the spotlight. Rumor had it she sold her shares, left the city, and started consulting under an alias. I didn't check. I didn't need to. Revenge, I realized, didn't need to be loud. It just needed to be complete. One night, months later, Clara and I stood again in that same conference hall, now empty, silent. The echo of applause from that day still seemed to linger in the air. I looked at the stage, remembering the flash of cameras, the stunned faces, the moment everything came full circle. Clara slipped her hand into mine. Does it ever get old? She asked. I shook my head. Not when you've earned it. She smiled. You really have become untouchable. I turned to her. No. We have. She kissed me then, slow, deliberate, like sealing a pact. And as the city lights shimmered through the glass walls, I finally understood what she meant that night. You can spend your life chasing fairness, or you can learn to build empires out of unfairness. I chose the latter. The next board meeting began with a familiar hush. Maya was there again, this time not as a partner, but as one of many employees seated in the audience after her firm's acquisition. Clara and I took our seats at the head of the table. I looked out over the room, met her eyes briefly, then said, "Let's begin." Her gaze dropped. No words. No defiance. The cycle had ended. And for the first time, I didn't feel the urge to gloat. Only peace. Because sometimes, the sweetest revenge, is never having to say a word.